Imagine a work week so efficient, so liberating, that you could actually escape 9 to 5, live anywhere, and join the new rich.
That is quite a promise, isn't it?
It really is. And that's the audacious idea at the heart of our deep dive today. Forget everything you thought you knew about traditional careers, about retirement even.
Right.
We're stepping into this world where time and mobility, well, they aren't just nice to haves, they are the ultimate currencies, the most valuable things.
With a fundamental shift in thinking about success, isn't it?
Yeah.
And maybe even about how we live our lives day to day.
Exactly. It's a radical reframing.
Yeah, and what's really amazing about Ferriss's approach, Tim Ferriss, is that he wasn't just talking about work-life balance in a vague way. He gave this almost provocative blueprint for actually achieving it. And this was way before it became, the big buzzword it is now.
That's true. It was pretty groundbreaking back then.
Definitely. So today, we're taking a deep dive into these revolutionary ideas from Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek: Escape 9 to 5, Live Anywhere, and Join the New Rich.
That title alone.
It grabs you. And it's not just a book that, challenged conventional wisdom. It actually laid out actionable strategies for designing a life around freedom and, experience.
So we're going to be digging into the best bits, the most potent nuggets.
That's the plan. From the really radical productivity hacks to some pretty daring lifestyle choices. We want to show you a kind of blueprint for living life on your own terms, not just, dreaming about it someday.
When I first read this book years ago, it felt almost, subversive, like it was telling me secrets I wasn't supposed to know about how things could work.
I get that feeling. It pushes back hard against the standard script.
It really does. So our main source for this deep dive is extensive excerpts from the updated edition of Ferriss's book. Plus, we've got praises and specific examples that are cited within it.
Right, the updated version has even more context.
Yeah, and our goal today really is to dig into the core ideas, the actual practical blueprints, and maybe even some surprising tools that can help you build this new rich lifestyle he talks about.
We want to help you understand not just what these ideas are, but maybe how they might actually apply to your own life, your unique situation.
And crucially, why they matter so much now. In a world that feels like it's grappling with information overload, constant demands on our attention, and just this feeling of being busy all the time.
This stuff feels more relevant than ever.
Totally. So where do we start? The core philosophy.
I think so. It's fascinating how Ferriss just immediately cuts through the stuff most of us just accept. He goes right after what he calls the deferred life plan.
Ah, yes, the deferred life plan. Explain that.
Well, it's that deeply ingrained traditional path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we commit to working a rigid 9 to 5 or often, much longer.
Very longer, usually.
For decades.
Yeah.
The idea is you save diligently, you build up resources, and then, only then, you defer real enjoyment and freedom until this distant, maybe uncertain retirement.
It's the classic work hard now, play later script.
Exactly. The societal default setting.
It's that feeling, isn't it? That you just have to grind it out now, sacrifice your best years, maybe your health, your energy.
Right.
So you can finally live when you're older. And maybe by then, you won't even have the energy or health you hoped for.
And Ferriss argues this whole deferred life plan isn't just outdated. He basically calls it out as a societal illusion, something that often doesn't even pan out for people.
He doesn't hold back. Does he use any, quotes or examples to back this up?
Oh, yeah. He pulls in some sharp ones. He quotes Oscar Wilde, who famously said, "Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination."
Ouch. That hits home for the budget conscious.
Doesn't it? And Mark Twain with that powerful advice. Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to pause and reflect.
Wow. So basically, if everyone's doing the 9 to 5 deferral thing, that's exactly why you should question it.
That's the implication. These aren't just witty lines. They're a direct challenge to just accepting that path without thinking.
So the real insight here is about facing that implicit contract we've made with our lives, like the assumptions we just carry around.
Exactly. And it's crucial to understand this isn't about being financially reckless. Not at all.
Right. It's not about just blowing all your money.
No, it's about questioning those deep-seated assumptions about how life has to be lived. It's about embracing a kind of creativity in how you structure your time and your resources now.
So it forces you, the listener, if you're on that path, to ask, how much of the life I actually want am I putting off for someday?
Precisely. Are you trading your present joy, your present experiences for some uncertain future just because that's what everyone else seems to be doing?
Okay, so if we're ditching that deferred life plan, what's the alternative? What are we moving towards?
This is where Ferriss introduces his concept of the new rich, or NR, as he abbreviates it.
The new rich.
These are the people who consciously, deliberately abandon the deferred life plan and create luxury lifestyles in the present.
Luxury lifestyles in the present. That sounds appealing. But what does luxury mean here? Is it just about money?
That's the key pivot. Their real currency isn't just financial wealth. It's actually time and mobility. Those are the true assets.
Time and mobility. Okay, that's different.
Totally different. It's not about piling up cash for some far-off future. It's about having the freedom now to do what you want, when you want, and crucially, where you want to do it.
So it's freedom in the present tense.
Exactly. And Ferriss illustrates this with his own life. He talks about being at the Tango World Championship semifinals in Buenos Aires.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Immersed in it. And he has this moment where he thinks, what on earth would I be doing right now if I hadn't left my job in the U.S. over a year ago?
That paints a picture. Tango in Argentina versus spreadsheets and traffic.
It's a powerful contrast, isn't it? It's immediate gratification, real freedom in action, not just a concept.
That image is super compelling. It makes the traditional path seem, well, a bit drab in comparison.
It does.
So this leads us to the how. How do you actually achieve this? He calls it lifestyle design, right? LD.
Yes, lifestyle design. And he frames it as both an art and a science. It's this deliberate way of, as he puts it, bending reality to your will.
Bending reality. I like the sound of that.
And he claims it makes life easier than it sounds. He presents it like a recipe, almost, or a deciphered code. A way to duplicate his own journey from being an overworked and severely underpaid office worker to becoming one of these new rich.
A recipe for freedom, so it shifts the focus away from just earning more money.
Fundamentally, it shifts it to intentionally designing your whole life around your actual desires, your values, what you want to experience.
I can already hear people thinking, yeah, right, my life doesn't allow for that. I've got bills, kids, a mortgage.
And that's the immediate, understandable reaction.
Yeah.
But the critical question Ferriss poses is, what if it's less about your current reality and more about the assumptions you hold about that reality?
The assumptions again.
Lifestyle design is about taking apart the idea that life must be this constant 9-to-5 grind, broken up only by short, maybe stressful vacations. It's about realizing you can proactively shape things, not just passively accept the default.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me, because he doesn't just leave it at philosophy. He gives you a roadmap, a practical plan.
He does. A very specific 4-step process for lifestyle design. He uses the acronym DEAL.
DEAL. Let's break that down. D is for?
E is for definition. This is where you reverse those ingrained assumptions we talked about and set really big, audacious goals.
Okay.
E is for elimination. This is the ruthless part, shedding the unproductive, simplifying everything.
Ruthless elimination. I like it. A
is for automation, putting your income on autopilot, mastering management by absence.
Okay, autopilot income sounds good. And L
is for liberation. This is where you embrace that mobility, integrate those mini retirements throughout your life, not just to the end.
DEL. Definition, elimination, automation, liberation. It's a clear path.
It is, but there's a really important nuance he adds, specifically for employees.
Oh, what's that?
He explicitly says that if you plan to stay an employee, at least for now, you should actually implement the process as DELA, not DEA.
DELA. So liberation before automation. Why the switch?
Because, he argues, you need to liberate yourself from the physical office environment first, before you can realistically reduce your hours or truly automate things effectively.
Ah, okay. Because of the office culture.
Exactly. His reasoning is blunt.
Yeah.
The expectation in that environment is that you will be in constant motion from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Even if you're super efficient, get twice the work done in half the time.
They still expect you to look busy for 40 hours.
Right. You'd end up just producing 8 times the results, trapped in this unsustainable cycle. You need that location freedom first to break that expectation.
That's a really crucial point. It shows how deep that visible effort equals value idea runs in office culture. So if liberation starts with shifting our whole paradigm, where's the first practical step? You mentioned elimination, the E.
Yeah, elimination is huge. And it ties directly back to D, definition, because you have to define what's important before you can eliminate what isn't.
Makes sense.
So focusing on elimination, shedding the unproductive, simplifying things, Ferriss throws out this wonderfully provocative command. Forget all about traditional time management. Just forget it.
Forget time management. Wow. Okay, why?
He argues the goal isn't to cram more tasks into each day. It's not about filling every single second with what he calls work fidget.
Work fidget. I think I know that feeling, just looking busy.
Exactly. That restless, often pointless activity that just makes us feel productive, but isn't actually moving the needle. The real insight isn't just do less. It's challenging that core belief that busyness somehow equals productivity or self-worth.
That is so counterintuitive for most of us. We're wired to think more activity means more value.
We really are. But he brings in people like Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who said, perfection is not when there's no more to add, but no more to take away.
Subtraction, not addition.
Precisely. And William of Ockham, Occam's razor adds, it is vain to do with more what can be done with less. These aren't just abstract ideas. There are practical rules for rethinking work.
So it's a radical reframe. Are you constantly trying to pack more in, or are you focused on maximizing impact by cutting out the noise?
That's the question it forces you to ask. Think about your own schedule right now. Where are you maybe just doing more with more instead of figuring out how to achieve more with less?
It's not about being lazy then.
Not at all. It's about effectiveness. It's about multiplying your results through smart design, realizing that time wasted on the trivial is time stolen from the vital.
Okay, let's get into the core concepts behind this elimination strategy. First up, the 80-20 principle, Pareto principle. Lots of people have heard of it.
Right, but few really apply it rigorously. The idea is simple. Roughly 80% of your desired results come from just 20% of your efforts or inputs.
And Ferriss actually used this himself.
Big time. He used it in his business, and the results he describes are pretty staggering. He made this conscious shift instead of chasing like 120 different customers.
Which that sounds exhausting.
Totally. He pivoted to focus on just getting large orders from his top 8 customers, the best ones.
Okay, so focus on the vital few. What happened?
His monthly income doubled from 30K to 60K. And his work hours, they dropped from over 80 a week down to about 15.
Doubled income, hours cut by more than 75%. That's incredible.
It really is. And he insists it wasn't a fluke. He applied it across many areas. The core idea is identifying that critical 20%, the activities, the relationships, the customers that give you 80% of the good stuff.
So for you listening, where's your 20%? What activities give you the most bang for your buck?
And just as importantly, what's the 20% that causes 80% of your problems or drains your energy? What if you just stop doing that stuff?
That takes guts, but the payoff seems huge.
It's often the hardest but most powerful move.
Okay, what works alongside the 80-20 rule?
Parkinson's law. This one is so simple, but so true. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Ah, yes. If you have all day to do something, it takes all day.
Pretty much. The danger, Ferriss points out, is that without deadlines that create focus, the minor tasks forced upon you will swell to consume time. Trivial things take over.
So how do you fight that? Just set deadline.
You use both principles together. That's the key. Use 80-20 to identify the few critical tasks that contribute most to income or your goals.
Okay, find the important 20%.
And then apply Parkinson's law by scheduling those tasks with very short and clear deadlines. Create urgency artificially.
Give yourself less time to do the important things.
Exactly. He uses that relatable example. How else could dropping off a package at UPS, setting a few appointments, and checking email consume an entire 9-to-5 day?
Happens all the time. We feel busy, but did we actually achieve anything significant?
Right. Minor tasks expand because there's no pressure. So for you listening, are you maybe inventing things to do to avoid the important? What if you gave yourself, say, only 90 minutes to finish your most critical task today?
The focus would probably sharpen instantly.
That's the idea. Intense focus, short bursts on the right things.
This combination leads to another part of elimination, cultivating selective ignorance. Sounds intriguing.
It does, doesn't it? Or going on a low-information diet. He basically says, fat-free performance and time freedom begins with limiting intake overload. Stop drowning in information.
Makes sense. More info isn't always better info.
Especially now. And the number one culprit he identifies, the biggest interruption, email.
Email. The bane of modern existence.
He calls it the greatest single interruption. His advice is pretty prescriptive, almost radical for some. First, turn off all the alerts, no pings, no pop-ups, no automatic send receive.
Cut the core.
Completely. Second, check email only twice a day, max. He suggests maybe around 12 p.m., before lunch, and again around 4 p.m., specific times.
Why those times?
He suggests it maximizes responses from emails you sent earlier, making the loop more efficient. And the absolute key rule: never check email first thing in the morning.
Don't start the day reactively.
Exactly. Do your most important task before 11 a.m. Protect those peak hours from the email vortex. He even shows a visual in the book, interruptions dropping from like 20, 30 times a day to 3, 4 after scheduling.
That's a massive difference in focus.
Huge.
What about phone calls? They can be just as disruptive.
Similar strategy. Use your cell only for critical known calls. Unknown numbers. Straight to voicemail. Office phone. Silent. Always.
Okay, and voicemails.
Respond via email whenever possible. It saves you time, lets you respond thoughtfully, and subtly trains the other person to be more concise next time. It sets a boundary.
Training people to respect your time. I like that.
And to streamline communication even more, he pushes this if-then structure.
If then, how does that work?
It's about preventing that endless back and forth by anticipating the next question. Instead of asking, can you meet at 4 p.m.?
Which just leads to, no, how about 5?
Right. You send, can you meet at 4 p.m.? If so, great. If not, please suggest 3 other times that work for you. It bundles the potential follow-up.
Cuts out a whole round of communication.
Exactly. Or for, say, a manufacturing order, an email that outlines the main plan, a backup plan, and who has decision power if something goes wrong. Like John, if issues arise, contact Susan at 555 whatever. She can approve up to $500. Emergency only, call my cell.
It removes you as the bottleneck.
Totally. So for you listening, how many emails or chats do you have that could be squashed into one efficient if-then message? Think of the time saved over a week.
And building on that efficiency idea, he talks about batching routine tasks.
Yes. Grouping similar things together.
Yeah.
Instead of doing little routine tasks randomly throughout the day, you allocate specific times for them.
So you're not constantly switching gears.
Precisely. You avoid squandering focus by interrupting yourself. The examples are really practical. Check email maybe only Monday mornings. Handle all bills automatically. Check balances every second Monday. Laundry every other Sunday night. Strength training just 30 minutes every 4th day.
It's about consolidating effort.
And minimizing disruption. For you, what routine things do you do multiple times a day or week that could be batched? The less often you interrupt yourself for routine stuff, the more deep work time you reclaim.
All these ideas, 80-20, Parkinson's, low-info diet, batching, they seem to lead to what he calls the choice minimal lifestyle.
Yeah, and it's based on this insight that just considering options costs attention. Attention you can't then spend on actually doing things or being present.
Decision fatigue.
Exactly. He tells a funny story about being in Barnes & Noble, getting totally stressed out by dog cartoons because there were just too many choices. Overwhelmed. It made him reread The Paradox of Choice.
I can relate to that feeling of choice overwhelm.
It's real. Too many choices. Ease less or no productivity. Less or no appreciation. Sense of overwhelm. So he offers these 6 formulas to get more output with less overwhelm.
Okay, what are they?
Set rules to automate decisions, like how you handle email. Don't answer calls from unknown numbers. Don't email first thing or last thing. Batch email checks, like we said.
Those make sense based on what we've discussed. What else?
Don't over-communicate with low-profit, high-maintenance customers. And this is the tough one. Actually fire those customers, the ones who take 80% of your time for 20% of the profit after you do the analysis.
Firing customers. That's bold.
It is, but it frees up immense resources. So for you, where are you experiencing decision fatigue? Could automating small choices or just saying no more often free up your attention? Because deliberation, just thinking about options, eats up so much mental energy.
Okay, so we've eliminated the non-essential. We've carved out time and mental space. Now we move to A for automation.
Exactly. Putting income and even parts of your life on autopilot. This starts with outsourcing life, offloading tasks, maybe even dipping into geo-arbitrage.
Geo-arbitrage using cost differences between locations.
Right. And the vision Ferriss paints for outsourcing is pretty wild. Virtual assistants bring eccentric billionaire behavior within reach of each man, woman, and child.
Having your own personal assistant, basically.
Yeah, but affordably. Getting a remote PA, he says, is a huge departure point for learning remote management skills, which are essential for the new rich.
Does he give examples?
Oh, there's a fantastic, hilarious account from A.J. Jacobs, the Esquire editor. He outsourced tons of stuff to a company called Brickwork in Bangalore, India.
What kind of stuff?
Everything. Research, formatting memos. He even outsourced writing an apology email to his wife.
No way! How did that go?
He said his Indian VAs acted like his superego, making his messages nicer and more diplomatic than he might have been himself. It kind of forces clarity and maybe even kindness.
Outsourcing your self-control, that's amazing. And the cost.
That's the kicker. Indian or Chinese VAs back then were typically $4.15 an hour. He mentions getting a business plan done for like $2,500 or $5,000 instead of the usual $15,000, $20,000. It really democratizes having support staff.
Incredible. But before you jump into outsourcing.
Crucial principle. Eliminate before you delegate. Don't just pay someone to do something dumb or unnecessary.
Right. Fix the process first.
Exactly. Don't hire someone to read all your email if better spam filters and autoresponders could just get rid of most of it. Eliminate the task. Don't just shuffle it.
So look hard at your workload. What can you just stop doing? What systems can make tasks obsolete?
Otherwise, you're just paying for inefficiency. And practically, security is key. Use credit cards, not debit cards, online with VA's better protection. Create unique, limited logins for them. Only give access to what they absolutely need.
Good safety tips. What about communicating with VAs?
Non-negotiable. Excellent English. Be quick to replace them if communication is fuzzy, and give super clear directions, like suitable for a second-grade reading level. He says, $10 words disguise imprecision. Keep it simple.
Simple and direct.
Yeah, he gives an example email. Deadline. Since I'm in a rush, get started after your next email and stop at 3 hours and tell me what results you have. Please begin this task now. Deadline is end of day ET Monday. Thank you. It's precise, has a time limit, clear action. No ambiguity.
So for you listening, how clear are your instructions when you delegate? Do you anticipate questions? Use that if-then structure.
It saves so much time.
Okay, so you've outsourced some life tasks. Now the big one, automating income. Finding the muse, he calls it.
Right, creating automated income streams. The goal isn't necessarily a giant one-off payday, but putting cash flow on autopilot. Consistent, reliable income without your constant input.
Predictable revenue. What makes a good muse product?
He has specific criteria. 1, it needs to be cheap to test under $500, ideally. Minimize risk. 2, you should be able to automate it within about 4 weeks. 3, once it's running, it shouldn't take more than 1 day a week to manage.
Low risk, fast automation, low maintenance.
Exactly. And crucially, he advises avoiding service businesses at first.
Why no services?
Because constant customer contact makes absence difficult. Service businesses often need you, which conflicts with the goal of freedom from direct labor. Product businesses are often easier to automate initially.
Makes sense. How do you find a market for this product?
Golden rule. Creating demand is hard. Filling demand is much easier. Don't invent a product and then look for buyers.
Find the buyers first.
Yes. Find a market. Define your customers. Then find or develop a product for them. He talks about developing products for students and athletes because he was one. He knew their needs.
He failed when he didn't know the market.
Yeah, with a college guidance counselor audiobook. He wasn't in that world. But his speed reading seminar worked because he understood students.
So, know your niche.
Deeply. It leads to his insight. It is more profitable to be a big fish in a small pond than a small undefined fish in a big pond.
Dominate a niche?
Exactly. His product, BrainQuicken, failed targeting students broadly. But it took off as body QQT for martial artists and powerlifters, tiny niches, but passionate and profitable. He could dominate there.
So for you, are you trying to be everything to everyone? Or can you find a specific hungry audience you really understand?
That deep understanding is key.
Okay, let's talk pricing and profit margins. This seems critical for automation.
Absolutely. And he says something counterintuitive. Higher pricing attracts lower maintenance customers.
Really? Higher prices, less hassle.
That's his claim. Less hassle, better quality of life. He aims for a hefty 8 to 10 times markup. A $100 product should cost maybe $10, $12.50 to make.
Wow, that's a big margin.
It is. He says the sweet spot for price is $5,200 per sale. Best profit, least customer service pain.
And that big margin acts like a safety net.
Hugely. He says BrainQuicken's margin saved it from bankruptcy when a supplier was dishonest. It's a buffer. He contrasts this with a shirt designer, Sarah, who failed by offering too many discounts, killing her margins.
So for you listening, are you underpricing your value? Maybe you're thinking lower prices are always better? How much hassle are your lowest profit customers causing?
Charging more can sometimes mean less stress, more profit. Value your time.
He also mentions licensing as a way to automate income.
Yeah, especially for leveraging knowledge without manufacturing. The inventor, licenser, gets 10% royalty. But Ferriss says it's often more interesting for the new rich to be the licensee, the one making and selling it, taking 97% of the profit.
Be the distributor, not just the creator.
Right. Leverage someone else's idea. He gives an example of a guy making hundreds of thousands selling a simple how-to DVD for $95 cost $2 to make to storage facility owners about security systems. Niche, but super profitable as the license seller.
So for you, do you have knowledge or an idea that could be packaged and licensed, or could you license someone else's idea?
It avoids a lot of complexity.
And for creating your own info product, he talks about becoming an expert.
Yeah, but he says, obliterate the cult of the expert. There's a difference between being a true lifelong expert and just being perceived as one, especially for selling niche stuff. Perception can be enough.
You don't need a PhD to sell a useful ebook.
Pretty much. He gives this wild example of a friend becoming a top relationship expert in 3 weeks just by joining trade groups and getting involved, which led to media spots.
Wow, 3 weeks. That's fast positioning.
Strategic positioning. He suggests ways to get content. License it, pay experts for interviews you record and transcribe, or turn your own failure to success stories into how-to guides. Identify a demand, package a solution quickly.
Okay, so you have an idea, potential muse. How do you test it without betting the farm?
Micro-testing. Using pay-per-click ads like Google AdWords. Test consumer reaction before you manufacture anything.
Test demand first. Minimize risk.
It's brilliant. You can test ideas for maybe 5 days, under $500. It flips the usual model. Most people build the thing, then see if anyone wants it. This lets you fail cheap and fast, pivot based on real data.
Let the market vote with clicks, essentially.
Exactly. Far better than guessing or focus groups.
And he gives a specific blueprint for this, the fast-to-market plan.
Yeah. Get a cheap domain and hosting, set up a simple WordPress blog, add content about your hypothetical product, add a buy now button.
But it doesn't actually sell anything yet.
Right. Here's the trick. The button goes to a page to collect their email phone, then to a dead PayPal link or a coming soon page. You gauge real purchase intent by seeing who tries to buy. You capture their contact info.
That's clever. You collect leads and test demand simultaneously.
Then you drive traffic with those cheap Google ads and see if the theoretical ROI makes sense. He mentions Matt Schmidt's DIY PR pack as an example.
So if the test looks good,
then you make or outsource the product, fix the PayPal link, and email the people who tried to buy earlier. You might even recoup your testing costs fast. For you, how quickly can you test your next idea this way, instead of hiding away developing it for months?
Speed and validation. Love it. Okay, the final part of AI automation is management by absence, MBA. Scaling for real freedom.
Right. The core idea. The system is the solution.
Yeah.
Build a self-running virtual structure. Design yourself out of the daily grind.
How? Who do you rely on?
He prefers contracting outsourcing companies over individual freelancers.
Why companies?
Reliability. If one person leaves a company specializing in, say, customer service, the company replaces them. Your business keeps running. A freelancer disappearing can halt everything.
It makes sense for stability and empower them.
Definitely. Let them communicate directly with each other to solve problems. And give them written permission to make small financial decisions without you start low, maybe $100, then raise it to $400 or more as they prove trustworthy. The challenge is knowing when to let go and trust the system.
Letting go is hard for entrepreneurs.
Very.
What about physical products? Shipping, returns.
Fulfillment companies are key. They handle shipping, returns, even checks. Find them via Yellow Pages, fulfillment services, or ask local printers. Negotiate hard try for no setup fees or minimums. Get references. Check for weaknesses.
Automate the logistics. And he mentioned minimizing customer decisions, undecision.
Yes. Too many choices paralyze customers and complicate your life. The more options you offer, the fewer orders you receive. It also increases manufacturing and service complexity.
So keep it simple.
Super simple. Offer maybe just 1 or 2 options, basic and premium. For you, we're giving customers, or even colleagues, too many choices, causing overwhelm and slowing things down. Simplicity drives action.
Then there are lose-win guarantees, going beyond the basic money-back promise.
Way beyond. The goal is a guarantee so strong, it makes it profitable for the customer even if the product fails. It completely flips the risk.
How does that work? Examples.
Think Domino's. 30 minutes or less, or it's free. Or Cialis promising to pay for a competitor's brand if you didn't like theirs. Jinsu knives with a 50-year guarantee. It screams confidence.
It becomes a powerful sales tool.
Huge. It builds massive trust. So for you, how could you flip your guarantee to make it almost irresistible, removing all risk for the customer?
Finally, under automation, projecting a professional image without much infrastructure.
Yeah, creating that perception of being bigger or more established. Use toll-free numbers that forward to email or outsourcers. Set up an IVR, an automated phone receptionist, using services like Angel.com. Makes you sound like a big company for maybe $30 a month.
Little things that make a big difference.
And use a post office box street address like Suite 555 instead of just P.O. Box or your home address.
Huh.
Small tweaks that project professionalism and automation. For you, what small changes could project a larger, more automated operation?
Okay, wow. We've defined, eliminated, automated. Now for the final step. Liberation. Mobility, mini retirements. This starts with the disappearing act.
Yes, escaping the office. Achieving true remote work for location independence. And the stories are great. Dave Camarillo, 44, lifelong employee, spent 30 days in China without telling his office, and successfully went remote after.
30 days. How?
He managed it. Another person trained colleagues to use IM by pretending to be just around the corner until they stopped looking physically, then worked from 6,000 miles away unnoticed. It's about managing perception of availability.
Perception again. So how do you negotiate remote work?
Prove your productivity first. Then really understand your boss's fears. Why would they resist? Address those fears. Suggest a trial, like 1 day a week from home.
And if they still say no?
Might be time for a new boss, or to go solo. Ferriss pragmatically notes that sometimes tactfully getting fired and using severance for a long break is better than quitting outright.
Leverage the situation. This ties into pride and punishment.
Exactly. Just because something took a lot of work doesn't make it worthwhile. And crucially, being able to quit things that don't work is integral to being a winner. Jobs, projects, habits.
Don't fall for the sunk cost fallacy.
Right. And don't confuse complex with difficult. Often the solution is simple, but emotionally hard because of pride or fear. So for you, what are you holding on to out of pride or fear, even though it's not working?
Okay, now the really appealing part. Mini retirements.
Yes, spreading retirement throughout life, not saving it all for the end, taking extended breaks for rest, learning, adventure now.
Front-loading the joy.
The benefits. You're more productive when you do work because you're rested and engaged. You work when effective, then step away fully. Ferriss aimed for 1 month off, relocating or learning for every 2 months of work.
And it's more affordable than people think.
Shockingly so. Often. Once you have location freedom, geo-arbitrage kicks in. Luxury experiences abroad can cost less than U.S. rent. If you can free your time and location, your money is automatically worth 3-10 times as much. Sailing around the world for 15 months cost $18, $19K less than Paris rent. 5 days on a private Panamanian island, $250. Chartering a private plane in Argentina, $150 for 3 days. Jean-Marc lived 20 years of partial retirement this way, totally unconcerned about traditional retirement.
So for you, are you underestimating how far your money could go elsewhere? What dream trip seems impossible but might be affordable with this model?
It really challenges assumptions about cost.
True freedom, though, is more than just money and time.
Much more. It's freedom from materialistic addictions, time-famine mindset, and comparative impulses. Cutting the clutter, mentally and physically.
Less stuff, more freedom.
Basically, trip enjoyment is inversely proportionate to the amount of crap you bring. He talks about struggling to get rid of stuff before his big trip, realizing he barely used most of it. Selling it brought cash and mental clarity.
So decluttering is key.
He suggests the buy it there, BIT method. Pack minimally. Have a small fund, $5,200, to buy things like umbrellas, only if absolutely needed. And never buy if you can borrow. It's about freeing yourself from the burden of possessions.
For you, what stuff is more burden than blessing? How much mental space could decluttering free up?
It connects back to that choice minimal lifestyle.
And it all boils down to attention.
The ultimate currency. If you don't have attention, you don't have time. Checking email for 1 minute can hijack your thoughts for hours, ruining free time. His advice: be focused on work or focused on something else, never in between.
No mental multitasking.
If your mind is still churning work stuff during your free time, it's not really free. It's occupied, fragmented. So for you, are you truly present when you're off the clock? Or is your mind still back at the office?
Okay, this is all amazing, liberating stuff. But doing it, fear is the big barrier. How does he address that?
With fear setting. The antidote to that vague anxiety is to define the nightmare. What's the absolute worst case scenario?
Make the fear concrete.
Exactly. He did it for a trip he was worried about. Defined the worst outcome. Maybe needing a temporary bartending job or selling furniture. Realized it wasn't catastrophic. Like Seneca asked, is this the condition that I feared? Often, it's not so bad once defined.
So the exercise is, write down the worst case. How bad is it really? 110. How likely? How could you recover?
Right. Brain vomit on the page. Don't just think about it. Writing forces clarity, shrinks the fear. For you, what are you avoiding due to vague fear? What happens if you define it?
Alongside tackling fear, there's dreamlining, setting big goals.
Yes. Shifting ambiguous ones to defined steps. Making dreams actionable. And the goals have to be unrealistic to be effective. Push past perceived limits.
Unrealistic goals. Why?
To break your limiting beliefs. And it focuses on activities to fill the void when work is reduced. Living like a millionaire requires doing interesting things, not just owning stuff. Experiences over possessions.
So the exercise.
2 timelines. 6 months, 12 months. List up to 5 things you dream of having, being, and doing for each. If stuck, think about what you hate or fear and write the opposite. Don't worry about how yet. Just dream big.
So for you listening, what's your ideal life look like if failure wasn't an option? Have you dared to define it specifically?
It's a powerful exercise.
Finally, to really push boundaries and get comfortable with discomfort, he suggests comfort challenges.
Yeah, practical, often awkward exercises to break social conditioning, like rejecting first offers and walking away. Practice negotiating in everyday situations, farmers markets, magazine subscriptions, counter offers, be willing to walk away. Builds assertiveness.
Get comfortable with saying no or asking for more.
Exactly. Another is revisit the terrible twos. For 2 days, say no to all non-essential requests. Get comfortable protecting your time, being selfish strategically.
Learning to say no is a superpower.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the boldest one. Relax in public. Lie down in a crowded place for 10 seconds just to see that the rules are mostly social conventions and the world doesn't end if you break them.
Shatter that fear of social judgment. So for you, what small, uncomfortable interaction are you avoiding that might unlock freedom or confidence if you faced it?
These challenges build resilience.
Wow. Okay, so we've taken a really deep dive into this world of lifestyle design, redefining productivity, leveraging automation, embracing mobility, confronting fear.
From 80-20 and Muse testing to many retirements and fear setting, the core message seems clear.
Which is?
You have way more control, more agency over your time and your life than you probably think.
Yeah. It's not just about working less hours, is it? It's about living more fully.
Exactly. Questioning the default path, taking control of your attention, and designing a life optimized for experiences and growth, not just saving everything for later.
You've seen the impossible as often just a set of rules we haven't questioned yet.
Rules waiting to be rewritten.
So the final thought for you listening. What impossible thing will you try now that you've maybe defined your nightmare and envisioned your dreamline? What assumption about work or life will you challenge starting today?